Welcome back to the Jener-Mendoza podcast, Harlem and the Bronx's leading new development team. We apologize for the sudden hiatus. I know a lot has transpired, a lot that we gotta talk about and catch up our network on. How are you guys doing today?
Good, man. It's hot. It's summertime.
Yeah, I'm not excited for this summer of heat. You know, like every year I feel like that. I'm like, oh, you know, it's not gonna be that hot. And it's like
it's only getting hotter.
Yeah, it's
global
getting hotter.
warming.
We're at that time of year where it's just like, because like it's still spring. It's not actually summertime yet.
It's
it's
June,
summer.
bro. It's June.
It's summer. But I'm talking about like when it actually like the first day of summer. You know what I mean? Like it's like sometime
isn't that
this
June
month.
June 22st.
June 22nd.
All right, so okay, so it's like next
All right,
week.
so he's
like
right
next week.
actually. So
Yeah.
it's still
It's spring, but it's like, you know, you get that time of year.
So spring is this hot, bro. Summer's gonna be.
That's what I'm saying. I
Holy
judge
crap.
how bad it's gonna be based on how bad it is in early June.
Yeah.
So like, he's like, oh, it's still nice out, and I'm like, bro, it's 88 degrees.
This is where I thrive and do deals.
Doesn't make any sense to me. It
So
doesn't
the
make any
show
sense to me.
goes on. I'm Mike Jener-Mendoza, joined by the M to my J, Mr. Eric Mendoza.
What's going on?
And we have Bash back this time. He missed us last time. He's a ever busy man, a lot going on in his life, more than just real estate.
You know,
But
you know?
we'll let him jump into that if he wants to. No pressure. But otherwise, you know, today, instead of bringing on a guest, we've had so much happen, you know, for us, our team, the overall market, just giving our clients a Q2 market update as far as what we're seeing out there, because I know you're feeling it, but it's summer, it's a hot market, but it's different. It's weird. Like there's a lot of things that I was accustomed to seeing happen every summer, a very cyclical market, bell curve, gets hot in the summer, cool in the winter. Ever since COVID, it's just been up and down. You can't even predict it. So there's a lot going on there. And then politically, a lot going on too. They're trying to ban our broker fees, and they don't understand the consequences that renters will face because of that. And also just the affordability aspect, new development. There's some new programs that have since passed since we last spoke on the last episode with Ed Poteet. So just want to jump into all of that. But first, asked you guys how you're doing, but what's going on in your lives? Like what's interesting, what's new, what do you want the world to know or not to know?
Before we do that, I think that we should,
And this is where it goes downhill. Yeah.
get a little loose real quick. You know what I'm just saying?
a couple cups of this,
A little
and
something, you know.
fill
We
my
got
entire
we got some
personal
tequila
life
on the
down
show
the drain.
today. I'm not gonna show the brand because we are not sponsored by them, but maybe
One of these days.
one of these days we will be. So
Is that a mezcal too?
yes, it is.
Did I read that
It is
correctly?
actually pretty good. I had it the other day. I was saying before that I usually get these things for my friends come over, and my friends never come over, so I just finish it by Friday.
You should get
so
new friends.
I got
that?
this
You see
today,
that?
so
You see
yeah, I should get new friends. You're right.
That was a
about
slight.
Yeah, no, really.
He's got no
So-
no choice. He's got to work with us anyway.
I
So
don't have much of a choice.
He says he
these
doesn't
days.
see us and we work together. That's the crazy part.
You know,
what I mean?
making
Like,
friends at this age is not that easy if you think about it. Like for not just like I mean, we're not that old, but it's like hey, buddy, you want to hang out? Like that's kind of weird. You
telling
know what
that
I
to
mean?
the
Like,
newly single guy is crazy in my opinion. But I guess. That's
well, no,
it.
I'm not even saying like meeting women. I'm saying like to or to date. I'm saying like if I see a guy on the street like, hey, like
Strapping
you look
young
cool,
fellow.
man. Like I want to be friends with you. Like that's weird. How do you go about that? Or like if you just have somebody you've had on Instagram for a while, how do you become buds? You know what I mean? You can't really, unless you like run into each other. You know what I mean? That's a little different.
I see what you're saying. Like, how do you initiate that first hangout with
Yeah.
your new friend?
How do you
know
do
what I
that?
mean? When you're pushing 30.
trying to make more enemies, not friends. So
That's Mike for you guys.
Thanos strikes again, right?
Yeah, right.
You're really embracing the villain.
I am.
I like
It's
that for you.
caught on. A lot of clients have seen the clip and mentioned it. So it's a good persona.
Oh man.
Obviously our lives are consumed by business. What's like some crazy or some funny story that has happened to you guys since we last spoke on the podcast?
Oof, Bash, I think you should start.
I mean, work stories, personal stories. I kind of have a little bit of everything. I'll keep it somewhat PG. You know what I mean? A few weeks ago, so I'm at a showing, and a couple clients pull over. Couple real cool people. You know what I mean? We're chit chatting, having a good time. They're looking for 2 beds. I'm at 2600 for reference. So really nice building, new development. One of those buildings where it's like developers just did a great job, owner, management team, phenomenal. Brian and his whole crew. But we're talking, and then the guy mentions to me, he's like, I'm actually interested in getting into real estate. So me, it's like I love to talk. So he says real estate. He's talking about getting his license. So we're having a little powwow. Come to find out, About 30 minutes go by. We've seen one apartment. There's like no interest in the building at all. They're like just like they've completely forgotten about the apartment search and they're just grilling me on questions. So they're like, how do you get your listings? How does how do you guys schedule out all your showings? So I'm here detailing our entire business model from like head to toe. So
the sauce for free, huh?
For free. And in that moment I was like, I should charge for this information. Tom Ferry's business model made so much sense to me in that moment. I was like, I am giving this guy the gems. So, I'm detailing to him, here's how I got my license. Here's kind of worked out for me. But low key, I'm also telling him, don't do this to yourself. I was like, you don't want to live this way. There are other options. You know what I mean? I'm low key trying to give him not the rosy version of what we do. And then I run into the same couple like a week later and Buddy goes, I got my license. I joined your firm. I was like, so, and it was that awkward moment where I had to be like, I left that firm. The look of just like sadness on his face. I guess he thought we were just going to work together. You know what I mean? And in that moment, I was like, damn, G, I hope he didn't join just because of me. But, best of luck. So it was something I'd never experienced before. Like they were more interested in learning how to be agents than their actual apartment search. I wish them the best. I give them a lot of info. Hope they run with it. So
it was good info.
I mean, I detailed the whole model. I was like, yo, I really gave it to him for free.
You just made our newest competitor. Look at that.
I'm hoping I didn't just like start a trend of just people booking showings just to pick my brain on how to do this job. But it was definitely a first. I did have a laugh about it afterwards, and no, I didn't close the deal. So hurts a little bit.
It's life. Yeah. What about you, Eric?
Yeah. For me, the other day I was driving to work on a Saturday. This was last Saturday, and I'm driving like in this area that has like a bunch of like clubs and stuff that stay open till maybe like 8, 9, 10 in the morning kind of thing.
Where was this?
We'll talk about it later.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, right. I was driving by there, and
not to interrupt. We didn't cheers. Yes. We're not Neanderthals.
Yes. Sorry, guys. I already started drinking.
Cheers.
You guys got you guys touch cups? You got to touch the cups?
Yeah, I'm
okay. I feel like we're a little far, so Mike, I'm just going to go like that.
Cheers.
I drive an SUV, and it's pretty dark, but why? And I'm not that far from my house. I don't know. I like opened the door or something like that. Basically, my doors were unlocked. I'm at a stoplight. Like, I'm just like, I don't remember if I was hungover or something like that, but I'm at a stoplight.
Is this Saturday morning?
This is Saturday morning, yeah.
Okay.
And somebody really just opened my door and like tried to get in, but like in the back seat, like a couple. And they look like they have been out for like 2 days straight. Like they look disheveled. Like they were like, oh my God, thank God our Uber's home. Or our Uber's here. And they were like, I forgot their names, but the girl was like, oh, for so-and-so? And like, but like as she's saying it, she's like inside the car already. Like she's got her whole leg in the car. Now my car is pretty like high off the ground. Like you got to like, get yourself inside.
Yeah.
I turn around. I'm like, what the? Like, So that was the crazy thing that happened to me. And that was my fault for leaving my doors unlocked. I don't do that. But, like, I guess, like, the car didn't register. Like, like you open the door. You got to do something real quick, whatever. Like, whatever. And I guess, like, all the doors unlocked. So I'd since changed that setting. So don't try that again. I'm not an Uber. I'm not your Uber. I'm on my way to work.
How'd you let them down easy? Because it seems like
I didn't. I yelled. I was like, get the out of my car. Like, I felt bad because she was like, chill, dude. And I'm like, I was just mad. But like, she was so stunned. She was still halfway in the car. Like, what? And I'm like, no, you get out. Like, I'm not your Uber. I said a bunch of other things too, but I'm not going to repeat it on this podcast. Yeah, I was. And the dude was just like looking at her like, I told you that's not our Uber.
I would have done that
at all. Like I just.
Did you even read the license plate?
You can tell that she's done that before and he's been there before and he just didn't want to argue with her. Like, all right, you can try it if you want to, but
okay, yeah.
Like halfway in the car, like what if I was like a killer? Like, and I was just like, yeah, sure, and then just drove away.
See, I feel like that's such a unique story because so many people don't drive in New York City and wouldn't have had that experience. So I feel like it's something very niche.
Yeah,
for sure.
Ted Bundy would have had like a field day with this like generation right now. Like just driving in that area, actually, you could have just done laps. He could have just done laps in that area. What do you mean I can't say that?
Off camera,
that was crazy.
Off camera, let me know what this area is. I would love to check it out. But
just a peruse. You know?
Just
to
keep your
know
doors
where
locked, because
not to
apparently
go.
they just be hopping in the cars over there like, oh yeah, this is my Uber. And I felt bad because I'm like, yo, you look like you've been out for 2 days straight. Like, I know you're exhausted.
Sounds like
but
the kind
I
of
ain't
place.
your Uber.
Sounds
I'm on
like
my
the
way to
kind of
work.
place.
The old Eric would have poured them a drink. Would have said, you know, come in here, hang out.
We out. Where are we going to the next spot? Why
Yeah.
the night's young? No, the day, it was
Just
literally
in time for brunch.
It was daylight out. Like, it was maybe 9 o'clock. So.
You gotta love it. You
Yeah.
gotta love
Well, this
it.
is a good segue to.
Well, what
I
about
guess
yours? What about yours? You gotta share too with the crowd.
My crazy story is my life. Every day doing this, day in, day
Woe is
out.
me. Here goes Mike.
Yeah. In all seriousness, no, we're very lucky to do what we do.
Very
but it's
much.
nuts. Every single day, something happens to you that hasn't happened to you before. And that's
I
just
mean,
the beauty of it.
You
Yeah,
know,
you get kind of numb to it. I would agree with that.
the most interesting thing about doing this podcast is that like I try to recount stories and I'm just like, man, there's like I've gotten to the point now where it's like I just flush the day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I go home and I'm like, anything that isn't related to a transaction or helping a client, I'm just like delete out my memory
So
bank.
real estate leads to memory loss. Yes.
In the short term, yes.
You know,
yes.
short term memory loss, not long term. You know,
Things
So
don't stick for that long. Like, oh yeah, that did happen. Yeah.
It's just
No, because a landlord burns you or switches brokers, but then they come back to you the next month, next year.
You gotta
and
have a short memory.
And of course, you say yes,
Yeah.
please. So
Yeah, you gotta say- you gotta have a short memory.
Memory loss here, definitely. Good time to segue into a big life change for us. As of end of May, we are no longer associated with the same brokerage that we were at before. We are now at Living New York, which is a full-service sales, leasing, and most interestingly, a property management company.
Yeah.
So Living New York
yeah.
was a no-brainer for us because they are a main competitor in a lot of the markets that we work in, Harlem, the Bronx, literally everywhere in the 5 boroughs. If, you know, I'm pitching for a project, they're probably pitching for it too. I've won some, I've lost some, we've both lost some, but it was a synergy that made a lot of sense. We were at Real New York for 6 years almost, hell of a run. Wouldn't take that back whatsoever. It was the right move for us as a team.
6 years.
Yes, you know, just some accolades. Top producing team in 2023. We signed 600 leases. 2022 top producers. You know, we helped lease up over 10 new developments in Harlem, Upper Manhattan, Midtown, Queens. All love towards Real New York. They really help propel our career. But at some point, you reach a ceiling. You have to do bigger things. You need a bigger canvas to paint on. And really, that's the service that Living New York is providing us. Not only do we have a unique proposition to landlords as far as property management, which literally no other brokerage does in New York.
It's very unique.
They have over 10,000 units under their management. So not only is that going to help us onboard for better management practices, a lot of the landlords we work with, or even new landlords that we bring to the table, secondly, we can tap into their existing management network and provide leasing services that previously the firm could not. So I think the growth there is going to be amazing. It's a firm that is definitely at the forefront of new development, both leasing and sales in Brooklyn, Queens, Harlem, Upper Manhattan, all over Manhattan. So I think the ceiling is very high now. The opportunities are endless. Very excited to see what, happens over the next 12 months, hopefully many years to come. I don't like moving, so hopefully this is the forever home, but everything indicates that it will be. I know we just joined, haven't even gotten our office set up yet, so it's all very new. I've been there a lot more than you guys have been because you've been so busy.
I got stopped at the front desk like I didn't even work there, so still very new.
Just getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
But just in general, I think the opportunities there with the amount of landlords and huge landlords that they represent, including Greystar, Moynihan, just to name a few. I think we're gonna do some crazy things this year. Now, with that said, from my experience right now, it's a strong synergy with the leadership team there. Basically, I pitch new business nonstop day and night. In my first couple of weeks, we're hitting the phones at midnight, talking about what accounts we're going to pitch. We're sending out emails, 50 to 100 new landlords every day. Some of the pitches that we've done, even in our first couple of weeks, are buildings that we never, ever were able to reach previously. So some huge projects are going to be uploaded to Street Easy in the next couple months. I'm very excited about that. No slight to Real New York, but just the ceiling was met and we had to make a move. I guess as far as, Real New York and what our experience was. Like, you know, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, what are your takeaways? What did you not like? You know, don't hold back.
Giving the alley-oop to cancellation is hysterical.
Right?
That's why I pass it off to you.
He didn't want to say it. No, I mean, honestly, that was the longest we have ever been with a company.
It's my longest relationship.
It is definitely longer than I've known most people, actually.
That's going to get you in trouble later on, but...
Yeah. But
no,
I think...
Actually, I joined them before Maria and I started dating.
Exactly. So I think for me, it was just, like you said, I mean, it became its time. You know, there was... Of course, there's always a way to fix things, but even just like with any relationship in life, I think that you have to go ahead and figure out, you know, what is your next step. And then when you can't really see that anymore, I think that it's a good time to start exploring possibly not being with that relationship anymore, being present in there. And I think that there was a lot of things that could have been better, maybe even from both ends. You know, I'm not going to go ahead and say that,
you mean we're not perfect?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and honestly, that's why we didn't last at a lot of companies, because a lot of companies did not go ahead and clash with our culture of stuff. You had a lot of older real estate agents, no slight to them, but you had a lot of older real estate agents that didn't do stuff like we did. You know what I mean? We were trying to do things with a lot of velocity and with a lot of tenacity. There was not a lot of people doing that in the industry when I joined. And I mean, we're talking a long time ago, but I mean, afterwards, in hindsight, it really was a lot about the culture. You know what I mean? And honestly, with Real New York, it worked. It worked for a good long time, but I think, you know, overall, just it becomes time. You know what I mean? And all in all, you know, I wish them nothing but the best, but I also wish us nothing but the best. So at the end of the day, we got to do what's best for us.
Yeah. No, a lot of the points you make, I feel like you couldn't have said it any better. That aspect of like, once you realize that you're no longer growing, you know what I mean? We kind of gotten to a point where it's like, you know, speaking to myself personally, if I feel stagnant, I start feeling anxious. You know what I mean? I feel like we started reaching a point where it was like, I couldn't see what the next steps look like, or I couldn't, you know, I'm a big believer that it's like, you plan for the future. What you plan might not always happen, but it's always good to have a plan or some sort of pathway to follow. And I felt like we did get to a point where that path started kind of getting cloudy. It was kind of hard to see, how do we continue to expand and grow? What are our next steps forward? And we tried to troubleshoot, you know what I mean? We had different ideas laid out, you know, different plans on how to grow, bringing on new team members, maybe growing out the team a little bit more. But what I've really enjoyed so far with Living is there's a certain hunger that I'm seeing amongst the leadership where they are desperate to grow, and that really resonates in terms of, you know, what we want, what we're looking to do. You know, we don't want to just be at 600 deals per year and just kind of call it what it is. The idea is, how do we grow 30%, 20%, 40% year over year and kind of keep the train moving? How do we get better at what we do, but still do it more efficiently to where we're not, you know, working 18-hour, 17-hour days, you know, round the clock. So it's you know, Real definitely served its purpose. And I think for where we were at the time, that was the best company for us. I mean, when we first got to Real New York, me a little bit later than you guys, there was no better fit at that moment, you know, and it definitely serves its purpose in that sense. And it still affirmed the story I told earlier. He joined Real New York, and I was like, you know what, that's probably the best place for you right now, in terms of where you're at. But for where we wanted to go, you know, that ceiling was met, and I'm excited about the zeal that the guys at Living have for where we're trying to go in the future. So
yeah, right now it's 7 days a week. Doesn't matter how early or how late it is. I'm getting texts, I'm getting emails, calls about different landlords that we're trying to pitch, different dev sites, different ideas as far as how to just further our outreach. That's the lifestyle we lead, and I'm very excited as far as where this is going. So, you know, for the next couple months, maybe even next couple years, it's really just put your head down and grind, come out much, much better on the other side, and I know we will, without a doubt. There's a lot of other factors affecting our industry and affecting just, you know, how profitable projects are. But with that said, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, you can throw any market conditions at me. It doesn't matter if it's COVID. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, new laws being passed. It's about figuring it out.
A really good year for us, actually.
It was.
You know, not like, obviously the world was in limbo, but
that's a fucked up thing to say.
That was our best year then. I mean, every single year was growth.
The growth year over year was insane.
The growth, year over year. was crazy.
It's taking down markets and spinning a positive out of it. I mean, it doesn't matter if the market goes up or it goes down. The best brokers make money, and it's just figuring out what the strategies are to do that.
Brokerage is aside, you know, it's nothing new I'm about to say, but a lot of the best businesses are built during down times. That's where it sparks innovation. You know, the bad economies are what creates opportunities. Down markets create opportunities. So if you're able to figure that out, that's what puts you ahead. That's kind of what COVID was for us in a sense, making the most out of a tough situation that kind of propelled us to where we are. So, you know, not even in real estate, just across the board. Plenty of people started really successful businesses during 2020, 2021. So us notwithstanding, for sure.
Yeah, well, way to keep it PG for that segment. I'm
you know,
glad,
listen,
glad it went the way it did.
You have anything else you wanted to say, or
No, I'm like I said, I suffer from memory loss, so it's just on to the next. Bash hits me with this annoying quote every single day when we do a recap about
I still don't get
how
this.
all
You
the
have to explain
deals,
this.
all the deals that we need are tomorrow.
every
Yeah,
day.
can you
Yeah.
like devy into that really quickly? Like, what does that mean?
So, you know,
'Cause I don't get it.
the silver lining is that no matter what goes on today, there's always hope for the future, right? So it's like no matter how bad today is, you never know what can happen tomorrow, and you can always wake up tomorrow and shit could change for you. Everything can change. So, you know, you might go on a day, tough day, you lose a couple transactions, something blows up on your face, but all the deals that we need are tomorrow. All the transactions, all the success, all the listings, all the clients we have to help, all the landlords we have to help. Whatever happens today, all that is tomorrow. So
I get so pissed off every time he says it to me. It's like, what the hell, bro? You had nothing good to tell me about today.
Do you mean that it can be tomorrow?
no, they are tomorrow. Think about it.
When tomorrow comes, what?
What if the Department of State takes your license away? I mean, then
Then
you're
what
not
are you doing
gonna you're not gonna
tomorrow?
be showing tomorrow.
You can't show tomorrow.
I don't think that far ahead. You know,
But just to tomorrow.
just till tomorrow. So
But
like,
when tomorrow gets here, where's the deals at?
so when tomorrow gets here, we start the day. Every day I wake up out of bed and I go, this is the time to kill. I might land the craziest deal today, and you attack with that ferocity, and then come about like 8 p.m. when it's like, you know, not the greatest deal.
Like, I
Listen,
was wrong. Today it's
all-
tomorrow.
all-
I forgot
all
to say
the-
tomorrow.
All the deals we need are tomorrow. And even if you had a great day, you know what I mean?
Still, you're gonna have tomorrow.
Hat trick. 3 deals, 4 deals one day, 5 deals one day. Did that a couple months ago. But guess what? All the deals I need are still tomorrow. It's a road,
Okay.
not a stopwatch.
Okay, if that's what you're gonna go with.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
If
well-
that's what wakes you up in the morning and keeps you going,
I don't know. To me,
do
it makes perfect sense. Maybe I sound. Listen, what they say now? Delulu. Listen. Live in the delusion.
Whatever
man.
gets you up. For me, it's a coffee and a Zin. But it is what
How
it
many
is.
Zins you got in right now? How many pillows?
Just one pillow.
Just one pillow.
He's on.
Always,
He's on a
always.
9 right now.
Oh,
It's
wow.
probably
No.
Yeah.
But we'll jump into the market. Just give a little Q2 update.
No, we're coming back
That's
to
coming.
that.
That's
We're coming
back.
back to that.
It is
after another
June.
pour.
Like you said, it's hot. It's not that hot. It's in the 80s. But the market every year.
Time out. We can't keep letting them get away with this. It's not hot. It's in the 80s. This isn't Miami, bro. This is New
it's
York.
89, so it's 90.
It's 90. It's crazy hot outside.
Mike, how you doing over there?
I just started.
Okay.
Give me next round.
That green solo hasn't left the coffee table.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play that back.
Not at least once. But
We should do something like in the comments section, like to see how many times Mike actually goes ahead and picks up that cup.
take a shot every time Mike does.
Yeah, you'll be pretty sober by the end of it.
You might be able to do that at work.
You can watch this on your drive home.
but the market is heating up, right? Like every single year, COVID not included, market's a bell curve. May through September 1st, it's hot. Rest of the year, a little more challenging. I mean, in New York, it's always busy, doesn't matter. But summer is, where we make our money. I feel like, pre-COVID, that was super, super predictable. It always went up, and then it went back down, and it went back up again. COVID changed that. Then I feel like we were just going randomly dependent on what the news was, what economic factors were driving job growth or whatever it may be. And there was times when the rents went up crazy high. Sometimes they went down low. Landlords were, shitting bricks. Like it was a very weird time coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people thought that by 2024 that would normalize. it normalized a little bit. It balanced out, but not so much. I think, right now today's market is not the typical pre-COVID June market that we see. Typically by May, it's crazy. It stays consistently crazy with a few little bumps all the way until September 1, whether it's the new hires, it's the people moving to New York, it's the students, interns, it's people that just are coming outside and viewing apartments because it's hot outside, it's nice outside. Right. So I feel like we haven't seen that yet this June. Statistically, it obviously is hotter in June than it is in May, than it is in April. We're still seeing that, but I think a lot of our product is not seeing that summer spike yet. So, really with that, I mean, do you guys think that maybe this year the summer starts late? It's like a July and August crazy leasing cycle. Does that mean September is going to be busier than it is most years? Maybe not because of students, but like, are people going to get jobs at some point? Like, do you feel like we've pushed this curve back a little bit, or is this something where it's a correctional year?
I almost want to take credit for what's going on in the market right now, in the sense that what I'm seeing is a savvier consumer, right? So what happens is when everybody starts to piece together that the summer is the busiest time of year, it's when rents are the highest, it's when it's the busiest, the most competition. And I think I probably can take a little bit of responsibility for that because, I'll meet a client and I'll kind of educate them on what's going on, what the market is like. You have a client that comes to a show and they're just like, I've been having the worst time apartment hunting. And it's like, are you seeing that too? And I'll kind of give them a little rundown that, yeah, we're middle of June. This is when the market's the hottest. I think people are starting to realize that. And what they're doing is the bell curve is straightening out a little bit more, where it's more consistent across many months versus having this really high spike in just a few. Mm-hmm. So what I'm seeing is a lot more people are starting to look a little bit earlier on their apartment hunt. So we're here in June, what's today? June the 14th. June the 14th. What I'm coming across a lot of people is I'm looking for a July 15th move-in date versus July 1. They're giving themselves the extra 2 weeks. A little bit of that too, but I think what you're seeing is people are trying to give themselves a little bit more leeway, a little bit more time. So instead of looking 2 weeks before their lease ends, they're stretching that out to a month. They're stretching that out to 6 weeks. Now, there is some pros and cons to that because sometimes they're just too early for what the landlord may be looking for or what the product we have is. But I'm seeing people are really starting to realize that and to make it easier on themselves, searching a little bit earlier, a little bit later than they normally would. So instead of having this crazy spike of a bell curve, it's flattening out a little bit more, particularly in our uptown markets. The West Village, the East Village, Chelsea, not as much, I would say, but definitely when you're going up to Harlem, you're in the Bronx, I'm definitely starting to see that amongst a lot of our clientele. So I think what we're going to see is September and October are going to be a little bit busier than ever before. In return, June, July, August might not be quite the crazy spike that we're accustomed to. And I think COVID does play a factor into that as well, too. And it all kind of goes back to what we discussed all the way on episode 1 in terms of that when people are working from home, they're giving themselves more time to apartment search. They're being a little bit more intelligent about their searching process. So I feel like that's kind of what lends to the unpredictability in these summer months where you'll have spurts of activity. You'll have 1 week where it's like, oh my God, crazy slammed, a ton of leases signed. The very next week, things kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, West Village and like those super hot markets, obviously unaffected. If anything, it keeps getting worse and worse in those markets for renters. Now, with that said, I think, in the areas that we primarily focus on, South Harlem is still super hot. I mean, that's the new Upper West Side in a way. Those rents are nuts, like at 224 West 124th Street. Apartments fly off the shelves way before their vacancy dates.
$10,000.
Harlem, Central Harlem, the Heights. I think on the new development front, I'm seeing slowness in the sense that a lot of the projects that we onboarded in the winter that, we were like, man, if I had this in the summer, at a snap of a finger, all this product would be gone. Not seeing that yet. And I'm still hopeful that by July, August, that very much changes. But do you think Central Harlem as a market is competing against the more, I would say like now hotter new markets, Queens, Jersey City, South Bronx? Like, do you feel like it's Central Harlem is not crazy hot like Lower Manhattan because of the outer product that's like taking the eyes of those renters, or is it something else?
I think for, just to go back on your last question really quickly, two things. One, I'm seeing a lot of people go ahead and look really early, like you said. They're looking a lot earlier than they used to. 21 to 30 days was usually our benchmark of, even when the landlord's going to take that application. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of people look for August 1, and they're saying, oh, August 15th, we're really flexible. And also, for some odd reason, we're seeing a lot of new hires come out really early, taking July 1 moves, thinking they're going to beat the summer rents.
It's good for us.
It's good for us, but at the same time, it's good for the owner, and it's also good for just New York in general. You're not going to go ahead and have the new hires that the next season is in November going ahead and looking with all the new students that are also looking at the same time. Nobody wants to look in that dead zone of like, and to be honest, I mean, August and September are usually some of the greater months for us in general. But the other part of that is that we're seeing a lot of people just go ahead and re-sign. So we're not seeing new inventory come to market. We're seeing people come out and saying, yeah, I have a lease, like I have an offer out, I'm 45 days out now. My owner wants to know within 45 days if he's going to have to list this apartment, or he or she. And we're going to go ahead and see what's out there. We're looking now just to get an idea of what the market is. We're seeing a lot of that.
The renewal right now is a huge topic because, it is great for the stabilization of a portfolio for a landlord, which is ultimately our goal. The landlord has to make money. The developer has to make money. The project has to pencil out for these projects to continue to be built and for us to continue to have jobs. So the renewal conversation means, yes, I priced it out right. I rented it at the right rents. I got you the right renters. So it is a win. Obviously, we make our money again on the portfolio when the non-renewals come up and we have new vacancies. But like, I had an institutional landlord call me this morning, and their first question was like, how do you feel about the renewal market? Like, are you seeing a lot of renewals? Me damn well knowing this man has no vacancies right now, so I know what his answer is.
Right.
And I feel like in Midtown, Lower Manhattan, every single person is renewing. Uptown, maybe it is a little bit the profile of the client. We get a lot of young people. We get a lot of people that maybe were priced out of certain locations. Maybe they're being priced out on these bump ups this year. But maybe there's other factors like good cause eviction, basically setting the max legal limit that a landlord can raise the rent on a renewal for product pre-2009 is going to play a factor there. A lot of landlords, it hasn't been instituted yet, but I think they're starting to adapt that already so that they don't have court cases at a later date from a crazy tenant. I think that plays a role. I think also the rents went so high last year and the year before that you just can't keep raising it, because if you keep raising it, then you're not even going to get that rate on market when you give me the unit back to lease. So like if you come back with a renewal offer at the same rent as you're paying this year, you're probably going to think twice about leaving because nobody likes moving.
We had such a rebound in pricing off of COVID. So 2021, 2022, prices really jumped up. But I always tell clients, it's like you rent an apartment. They're like, what do you think is going to happen with the rent when it comes to renewal? And I always kind of tell them, it's like, well, it all depends on the building, of course, but pricing can only go so far and so high at such a velocity, right? They're always going to be kind of like a not a stagnant point, but in a sense where it's going to level out a little bit. So I think we're seeing a little bit of that now. And what you were mentioning about the people resigning, people coming out for tours, kind of seeing the lay of the land and then determining, is the deal I'm being offered actually a good deal versus what's available out there? And if it is, staying put, not going through the headache of apartment hunting and just taking the 3% bump versus, okay, maybe I'm getting a 6% bump and it's like, okay, I can go out and actually get a similar price place for a little bit less or around the same of what I'm paying now. So a savvier consumer, which is, I think overall is a good thing because it does help level out the market in the sense where you want tenants, you want people who are searching for apartments to be somewhat educated on the process, because that's what keeps the even balance in terms of keeping pricing in line. Because you never want to get to a point where you're outpacing the market in a sense. You always kind of want to be in line where people are. We've done that plenty of times
on
projects. Unfortunately.
And that's the thing when we're talking about lack of new inventory coming through renewals. but we're also talking about not a lot of product coming because of obviously what happened with 421A. We're seeing, and especially in Midtown, we're seeing rates at pretty good numbers go really, really quickly. Like if it's priced correctly, it's going to rent really quick.
Yeah.
So I think the tenant is understanding that, and then or the prospective buyer is understanding that. Now, in terms of your question about Harlem right now, I mean, yeah, when people are looking at Midtown and they're currently living in Midtown, or that's where they know that they have to work or whatever the case may be, they're looking at, okay, I can't do this. I need to, and all the things that I wanted, are in other markets. Let me go ahead and take a look. The easiest place was Harlem before, in my opinion, because it's simple on the trains. Yeah. You're just going to take that train for a little bit longer. That's it.
Easy commute.
But now it's like people are like, well, I was thinking about Brooklyn and that's, 2 trains away. What about, one train and then the New Jersey Transit or the Path or, the Metro North or whatever the case may be. So I think overall, right now, Harlem has enough products to go ahead and draw interest. But with the lack of 421A, there's not going to be new product that goes ahead and helps bolster that where people actually want to be. So a lot of people are looking at Jersey City. People are looking at Yonkers. People are looking at, the Bronx, like Upper Bronx. They're looking at, other parts of New Jersey that you have to drive.
I was looking at an apartment for myself up in Riverdale, up in the Bronx. There's a new dev building that we're hopefully going to try to get a nice little pitch in. But even for myself, someone who works in predominantly Manhattan, I was willing to go all the way up to Riverdale and kind of explore that area for myself.
Yeah.
So,
So clients are having that conversation with themselves. They're saying, okay, well, before I was thinking about, okay, let me go 30 minutes max commute. Let me go ahead and go 40 minutes max commute. And it's like, okay, but what's the difference of 40 minutes on the Metro North or New Jersey Transit as opposed to let me go ahead and take the one?
Especially if you're not in the office every day.
Exactly. If you're not in the office and you're not even taking that much, it's like, where else can I go? So I think what we said before on the first podcast, like you mentioned, is that not only are tenants getting savvier, but I think the landlord has to get a little bit savvier with what they're offering, especially if they're going into new devs. If you have the opportunity to build something from the ground up, I think you have to really be cognizant of the fact that your renter has street easy. They have the internet. They have social media. They're able to go ahead and look at all the different things that are out there at a click of a button. Even if let me go click on what's on Fort Lee. Let me go ahead and see what the train would get me. Let me go ahead and see what's in Jersey City. But that's why we're seeing these markets kind of flatten a little bit in that way. But when we're talking about the bell curve, again, we're seeing a lot of people look really early, which is kind of not a great thing for, if you don't have the right leasing team. I don't think it's a great thing for a lot of owners that don't have, that, because at the end of the day, tenants are only getting smarter. People who are looking are only getting smarter. They're looking a lot further out. They're utilizing their resources a lot more. I mean, how many conversations have you had with people that are looking at the building that you're showing and they're like, do you have anything else? That conversation comes up a lot more than it has years in the past.
Because they're looking really far out.
It used to be a conversation that we would broach. Right? It used to be the kind of conversation where I would be curious and looking to help and trying to figure out, okay, if you don't like this, maybe I can offer some suggestions. And now people are kind of coming to us with that kind of question. Yeah. But you mentioned having the right leasing team, and this is where I kind of want to big up what we do in the sense of like being able to speak with the landlord when we're going over pricing and kind of letting them understand that, hey, we want to make sure we're pricing competitively in the sense that that person who's looking 45 days early, they're willing to move if they feel like they're getting a decent deal, right? So it's a matter of not getting too far ahead of the market. So when we're speaking with landlords and we're talking about, I've got a new 1-bedroom, we put washer dryer into it, gutted the place, nice and new in a pre-war building. What are you thinking about numbers? Being able to have that conversation with them of like, listen, we could squeeze every dollar out of this, definitely. But also, we can also price it in a way that we can actually get this rented pretty quickly because it's a good product. And, based on what the market is doing, if we list it at this number, that person who might be willing to move 45 days early will jump on it right now. And now you have yourself what is, in my opinion, an educated tenant is a good tenant in the sense that they understand the market, they know the deal they're getting, they realize like, oh, this is actually really good for what I'm looking for. And that's the same person that's going to be more likely to renew come next year because they know the deal that they just received.
Yeah, and a lot of leasing teams can't do that. they can't go ahead and
velocity
really
is the most important part to it. If you can get something signed 45 days out before vacancy, you save a lot of time, money, and headaches for landlords.
Right. We just had a unit leased while still under reno. Like there's no appliances in the unit. Already got the leases signed on it, but why? We had the conversation of pricing.
About the West Village? The West Village.
No,
is the West
Central
Village.
Harlem, 139th Street.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay.
Things are happening really early these days. Which,
yeah.
I mean, again, we're talking bell curve, and it's there.
Not to beat a dead horse, because you mentioned it already, but to kind of go back to Central Harlem versus other neighborhoods, the Bronx, Brooklyn. What I will say is though, maybe it's my bias speaking, but Harlem does still have that appeal of being mainland, right? So for someone who really does care about what that daily commute looks like, or just maybe not venturing too far out, right? If you're someone who's never really lived in Brooklyn or the Bronx or in Jersey City, there is a familiarity of knowing I'm in Manhattan. I know the one train. I know what the A line looks like. I know how to get on the B and D.
Even if it's your first time living in New York.
Even if your first time living in New York, Harlem definitely does have that appeal of easier to navigate and kind of get around.
Harlem is still up and coming. Like don't get it twisted. There are so many projects that are coming to Harlem, and we'll jump into some changes that will make those projects happen. But there's a lot of projects that are coming. So like it has not reached its potential.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
That skyline in Harlem looks, like it very different today than it did 5 years ago, but it's going to look damn different in 5 years.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's absolutely going to change. And then just to jump into the numbers, this is basically the Jener-Mendoza report, because I took all the reports I could get my paws on and I averaged it out. The vacancy rate in Manhattan is still super, super low. It's 2.27%, which historically is very much in line with what we've seen. So no matter what slowness you've seen on the leasing front recently, like that's not reflected in those numbers whatsoever. And I think it also has to do with the fact that tenants are looking so far out in advance. The prices this past May in terms of gross rents were 3.3% less than last May. So I think that goes a long way as far as painting the picture. As far as renewals go, tenants are renewing at that same number or potentially at a very, very small bump. And then if those units come vacant, we may not even hit the number we hit last May. It may be slightly below that. So I think that has a lot to do with like the craziness of 2022, 2023, how high we got those rents. But because there was a little bit of a price correction in as hot of a month as May is every year, I think that goes a long way, because 3% in May, that could be 10% in January. So I think that speaks volumes as far as to the market correction that we're seeing today. The average rent in Manhattan is $5,147. That's for all unit types. It's up there. The median though is at $4,250. So, the ultra luxury market is obviously getting that $5,147 extremely high.
Yeah.
West Village, East Village, Midtown, those neighborhoods are obviously pumping those numbers up with increases that you're not seeing uptown.
Those are the neighborhoods that I like to say they're undefeated when it comes to those numbers in that sense.
There's demand. There's demand. Yeah. But with that said, the average dropped about $100 from where it was last year. So, again, price correction. The median, however, went up by almost $100. So, I think Harlem, other sub-markets, they probably saw increases year over year, where maybe like the super hot markets saw slight decreases. But again, I think everything stayed pretty even keel over the course of this wildly expensive market that we're living in today for tenants. And again, Manhattan, it's hot. We're maybe seeing some slowness in certain parts. As far as new development leasing, and overall like increases year over year for every unit type, Queens is the hottest borough.
Oh my God.
And we know this because we do represent a decent amount of new development and projects in Jamaica, which is not a easy market. It's challenging. But Astoria, LIC, I mean, those are exceeding Midtown Manhattan rents. So Queens right now, as far as from the developer's perspective, and also just from the numbers that renters are paying, is the hottest borough today in increase.
I feel like everyone is discovering Astoria for the quaint neighborhood that it is. And it's funny. It was. Yeah, that's the way to put it. It was. But every day, at least one person is like, do you have anything in Astoria? Do you have anything in LIC? Though that neighborhood is really,
the Bugs
really,
Bunny meme?
Yeah.
No, I do not.
No.
Yeah.
But it and you know it's such a historical neighborhood in the sense that, like, you know, a lot of pre-war, a lot of older buildings. So the fact to see it kind of like boom in the way that it has, I think a lot of people moved to Astoria, invited their friends over, and then people were just like, oh wow, this is where I need to be. Yeah. So yeah. It's,
as far as like projects that we have coming up in the immediate future, honestly, a lot of the accounts and new landlords and new projects that we'll be soon representing are existing projects, and a lot of it is thanks to Governor Hochul getting rid of 421A before. A lot of developers that would have had product on market this summer abandoned projects, stalled them, looked to sell certain sites. So there is a extreme lack of inventory in Manhattan on the new development side. It is going to hopefully change in the very near future, but very little new development product is hitting the summer this year for rentals. So
I feel like outside of the Bronx, outside of that, you know, that South Bronx area, it has been very slim. You know, people come to Harlem and they're like, you know, I'm showing 224. They're asking for other new developments, and I'm just like,
there's nothing. There's legitimately nothing in our markets that is opening this summer on the large scale front. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but mainly everything was basically shut down almost a year ago, given the complexity of whether or not 421A was going to continue and in what capacity. And a lot of owners got very scared by that 2026 Q1 deadline, and they just scrapped the projects. So
it was very much, if they could get it condo conversion in time, they might still follow through. But if
I
not,
wouldn't build a condo today. Interest rates are damn too high. So, especially in Harlem for like a first-time home buyer. But we do have some new projects coming to market, a little bit smaller, a little bit different than what we've been accustomed to.
Boutique style.
Boutique, 2903 FDB, which is over on 150th, and FDB is a 12-unit condo project that we converted into rentals.
The best Jamaican food spot is like 5 blocks north of 29 FDB. The best Jamaican beef patties in all of Manhattan, I'm telling y'all. Sensational.
Yeah, but that's a broker's fee. And then Smash is just here. Okay, but you got to hear about this beef patty.
But you got to hear about the oxtail.
You got to get it with the cocoa bread. You got to do all of that.
Woo! Man.
Don't forget the bev. Don't forget the bev.
It's a boutique project, but we're talking about studios in the 3,000 and up range, you know, very sizable with washer dryers. We've got a duplex in there that's leasing at almost $7K a month. So it's a small project, something that we'll be able to very quickly move. Same developer is bringing an even hotter location to market at 463 West 125th Street. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a huge hit with Columbia students or anybody looking to literally be next to the A train to be in Midtown in minutes.
The business school is down the street.
Another 14-unit project. It's small, but again, it speaks volumes as far as like what has transpired over the last couple years, because that was also a condo that is now going rental. So those are a couple new devs we're onboarding this month. We have a really interesting different project for us in the West Village, where a client of ours purchased a row of buildings, doing a little bit of a repositioning. Had a townhouse that went to market for $18K, signed leases at $19K. We had a 2-bedroom that was at $10K, signed leases at $11K. And now we have 4 to 6 other units that are in the process of renovation. But again, like we were saying, West Village is nuts. And we did onboard a huge development portfolio from one developer that I've been trying to work with for years. I pitched all of his new development projects, but he happened to have this relationship with Living New York. So there are 3 buildings that were...
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, we're now taking over. Just to name those, 2750 and 2754 FDB, known as Park Row in Harlem. That is a beautiful, also at one point slated condo project gone rental. 521 West 134th Street and 168 West 136th Street. Really hot locations, being in Stryver Row, a really nice pocket in central Harlem that I think a lot of people don't talk about unless they know Harlem, but very, very nice. Boutique, they're in the 30-40 unit range. Overall, it's about a 100-unit portfolio. It's something I'm very excited about to work on this summer, work on the re-rents, something that we can really help bump up numbers that I thought were soft last year. Hopefully I don't shoot myself in the foot and, learn the hard way.
Especially since we have an office right down the way.
So again, there's a lot in the works, and I feel like a team like us, like, it doesn't matter what factors you throw at us, we do figure it out. And speaking of factors, just to jump into the politics of New York City real estate, what has transpired.
And this is where we get canceled. Well, how long we made it today? We made it pretty well.
40 minutes.
We did pretty good. We did pretty good. All right.
But the hottest topic. Actually, Eric, let me get a pour.
Here we go.
Give him a little gas.
Here comes Thanos. Put the battery in his back. Look at this.
Yeah, it's more so topics that don't make sense. But again, what makes sense in New York?
It's the city that never sleeps. That saying in and of itself is contrarian for sure.
So this week on June 12th, was that Tuesday or Wednesday, there was a hearing at City Hall about banning broker fees. And now what does that exactly mean? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that brokers cannot get paid, but for agents as ourselves who are landlord representation side, we cannot pass the broker fee on to the tenant. Even though we advertise the apartment as a no fee listing, they don't want us, as a fee listing, they don't want us having the tenant pay the fee. Unknowing that when it is a fee listing, that's only because the fee is not baked into the rent. And that when you see a no fee listing online, the fees have already been factored into the rent and they're much higher than they would be. A New York City councilman for District 36, wherever the hell that is, Chi Osei, has made a career of attacking brokers. My 2 cents on the guy, to be a city council member, you should have the basics of economics mastered. You should have gone to school for that if you're going to be attacking it. But simply put, I don't think he understands supply and demand. He doesn't understand that when the supply is super low and the demand is super high, rents go up. And it doesn't matter if it's because of the broker or the landlord or whatever. The rent that an apartment gets rented at is dictated by the market. And if supply is low, demand is high, the rent is going to go up. Now, if you want the rents to go up even higher, make all of these landlords pay their brokers so that the rent can be made even higher. It's simple economics. You do not go into a restaurant and expect that the waiter is not going to expect a 10 to 15 to 20% fee for the service provided. If you wanted the restaurant to cover that wage gap for the potential server, then your dish would be much more expensive. But he doesn't understand that. I think personally he's built a career simply off of just exploiting something that he knows will get clicks. He knows that if he says fuck brokers, get rid of broker fees, it strikes a chord with the Gen Z, the millennial, just the younger generation that has gone through the apartment process, not enjoyed the fact that they paid a broker fee to move into an apartment, but just neglecting the fact that absolutely every single thing that you purchase or service that you hire someone to do incurs a fee. Either it's built into the price or it is something that you pay on top. So with that said, we'll see what happens. There are some glimmers of hope because we do know from a few sources that Eric Adams is very pro-broker in this matter, and he is not going to support the bill. Obviously, there's a whole system as far as, if the council speaker wants to push the bill, it goes to Adams. Adams has the opportunity to adapt it or veto it. If he vetoes it and the council goes ahead and overturns his vote by a 2/3 vote from all 54 members, then it will be enacted. I don't think it happens because the broker fee issue is pretty damn low, I would say, on the city's concern list right now. And for the city council to make an enemy out of Eric Adams over rental broker fees would be pretty stupid given the actual issues they're dealing with.
All the other problems that are facing the city at the moment.
If you want lower rents, you have to go ahead and fix the rent stabilization issue. You have to fix the fact that an owner cannot go ahead and bring something up to code without spending couple thousands of dollars. You have to spend, you're talking for a kitchen maybe 20,000 for a kitchen if you got everything at discount, for the labor, for this to bring it up
starting
to code.
With the permits, it'll be at least 15 to 20K.
You have to go ahead and pay a lot of money just to get the unit to code. There's a lot of apartments that are warehoused right now in New York. You want to make things less expensive, you have to go ahead and fix that issue. Because at the end of the day, it costs them more. You're asking people not even to do charity because it's not necessarily for the greater good of anybody. You're asking for by doing it like that, you're asking people to do a crappy job. You're asking for people to do a shitty job and bring people in like that.
If you want more no-fee listings, just get more listings on market.
Right.
During COVID, how many listings were no fee? Literally every single listing.
Right.
There was no fee listing.
Because there's tons of vacancies.
Exactly.
Right. People weren't in New York. So how is the only way that you can go ahead and create that again? Fix the rent stabilization issue. That's what you have to do.
By forcing the owner to pay the broker fee, like you said, it increases the price of the dish. The root cause of the problem is available units on market.
Right.
The more available units on market, it's going to drive pricing down dramatically versus just having the owner bake in the cost of paying his broker out of pocket. Because I think, and this is where I feel like for this particular councilman, there may be different reasons at play. I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? But
no way.
Sounds like he got stiffed by a broker one time. He
definitely paid a broker fee and didn't have the money for it. Or whatever
he definitely paid like
a
15, and then he was just like, "Damn, that shit sucks."
I'm always sympathetic to the cause of it's an expensive city to live in, and you do want to give people a break. So I don't necessarily want to advocate what I would consider brokers who are bad at their jobs, who are maybe overcharging, not providing any kind of a service. But at the same time, attacking broker fees is not going to fix the problem, right? There's a very, very, very small part of me that would like to see the bill go through because I know what's going to happen on the other side, and it's going to exacerbate the issue just that much more. Right? Inventory is the problem in New York City. It's not the broker fees. Inventory is what's going to solve our issues. So rather than making it us versus them, there's a way in which we can work together to get these issues solved.
I don't think Albany has ever learned their lesson, though, because they already started with 421A. Now we know that that's a 2-year out issue. We heard that from Ed himself, a developer in some of the biggest spaces that we've seen. Already we saw that that's not going to be an issue. The thing is, it can't be like today. You can't ask them to put their hand on the stove and get burned today and then go ahead and fix it tomorrow. Like, they're going to go be like, ouch. And then it's going to be a 2-year issue until they figure out, oh, why is that stove hot? You know what I mean? You can't fix it that quickly. Yeah. That's the trouble with all this, is that when it comes to the politics of all this, I mean, Albany's not going to figure it out until they hear from New York, like, damn, that's what you guys are going through? All right, give me a second. And that second takes months. It takes years. It takes all this time. It takes new council members to go ahead and make that all a correction.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to jump into all the conversations we've had in the past. I definitely would encourage people to check out episodes 1, particularly episode 2, where we actually had, a developer, a landlord who kind of went through kind of some of the back channels of what it looks like to bring buildings onto market. But this idea that eradicating the broker fees is what's going to magically solve, the housing price issue in New York is just naive at best, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch.
I said, I think it's definitely not his passion project. I think that in all, it is something that will get a lot of clicks online, and you're doing it because you're rising to fame. And he's a council member that he puts everything on Instagram. He's got like 100,000 followers. You're doing it for the followers. Like, you're not doing it in any way because of your hate for brokers. It's because it was your, claim to fame, your 15 minutes in the spotlight. It will come and go. I'm confident that this does not pass. And simply put, from the renter's perspective, from the landlord's perspective, and for the thousands of brokers who have jobs, it is not good for anybody. So there's that. 421A, much, much bigger topic in the grand scheme of things for new development, because simply put, all of our new developments are no fee anyways for the tenants. Governor Hochul, which again, huge hater, I do commend them for reaching some sort of an agreement. I think it's more of a step backwards than a step forwards, but 421A has been replaced by 485X. That came into fruition last week of April. Literally right after we did the episode, a week later, they announced everything.
They must have watched it.
They heard us.
They knew they had to strike a deal, and they did.
They said, they're talking about us on podcasts. We gotta get something fixed.
But, Ed touched on, that it is imperative that there is some sort of program in place. Now, new 485X, which is the same sort of tax abatement program where you have to deliver a certain number of affordable unit percentage mix for the building for you to receive the tax abatement. The pros, simply put, are Right now, under the current 421A, doesn't matter what percentage of affordable you had agreed upon at that certain point, it was a 35-year tax abatement. The new program is for 40 years. So, there is a positive there. You get a little bit longer of a tax benefit, helps you, with that bottom line.
Those extra 5 years make a difference for sure. It makes a big difference.
And right now, 421A was set to expire in the Q1 of 2026. So you have to have your project on market and leasing by that point, which is a reason why a lot of people stopped. The new program has now extended that to 2034. So with that said, a lot of projects have come back to life. I do a ton of canvassing. I talk to a lot of development sites, and in my market of Harlem, quite often I hear project stalled. I'm not doing it. I'm looking to sell the site, whatever it may be, usually based due to the timing that they just cannot bring it to market, or they don't have the funds to do it within that timeline. This is going to open the door for a lot of those developers to go ahead and fix that and go ahead and build it. On the flip side of it, most people that had the plans to do it, either they've been disenchanted by the entire idea of developing the site because it failed once, or they ran out of money. They spent a ton of money on permits, architects, pouring the base. It just didn't happen. They moved on from the project. There's a lot of developers that are entering the space now as far as buying development sites to go ahead and revamp those projects. So right now, our job is finding who those buyers will be and start working with them as opposed to the prior owners of those sites.
It's definitely an opportunity for someone who might be a new developer. This is a chance to be able to get your hands on a site that's already gone underway, so to speak.
But here's the flip side, the cons to the new bill. It's the cost of construction and the overall implications as far as violations and non-compliance that make it almost unattractive to build. These numbers make me want to get into construction. I might be a foreman by the end of this. The new wages, there's wage requirements that have been set. Rebney has been going back and forth with the labor unions. Again, I'm not a Rebney fan, but what they really agreed upon is it depends on project size and location. So if you are at 100 units or less, well, technically less. So you got to be at 99 units or under. It's $40 an hour per construction worker at base minimum. That's minimum pay. And that's for everybody on the site.
That's for your regular laborer, and it goes up from there based on scale.
It's for the lady with the radio in the elevator. Yeah, so that is the absolute minimum pay. Okay. So what's going to happen? You're going to see a lot of projects at 99 units or a little bit less. No one's going to build at 100 units or a little bit more. It just doesn't make sense. So after that, if you are in our markets, let's say the not prime under 96th Street, non-waterfront Brooklyn or Queens, you're at $63 an hour for anything over 150 units. So,
damn, you
with
might
that
see me in the elevator
that's
with
what
the
I'm
radio.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
See
And that's
me
for
in
the
the elevator
non-prime
with the
market.
radio.
Broker's license? What broker's license?
I might be selling and doing construction at the same time. It's $72 an hour for anything below 96th Street or in Queens or Brooklyn waterfront. $72 an hour. So what that's going to do is it's going to inflate
great.
construction costs by 2x at least for any project that's going up. On top of that, if there are any non-compliance or violations, and we damn well know that every building that we work on, there are hundreds of complaints and violations that come in during the construction process due to neighbors, due to DOB being pesky, whatever it may be. Right. Those fines are almost doubled now under the new bill. So you have to be absolutely meticulous and friends with all of your neighbors to be able to develop anything today. So with the overall added cost to build, are you still going to want to build? And then that same project that you wanted to build that was going to be 150 plus units, now you're limiting it to under 100. So
that's $28.80 for a 40-hour work week at $72 an hour for like you mentioned.
Everybody's a 100K earner on the job site.
On the job site.
Yeah.
But so like, we I think this is, sit on that number for a second, right? When we talk about the cost of real estate in New York City and the pricing of rents and why they are the way they're at, imagine a new development job site where we're building 150 apartments, and every single construction person on site is at about $130,000 a year salary for a 40-hour work week per.
And I'm not advocating for, not the enrichment of
Absolutely,
construction workers, but at the same time, it completely deflates the purpose of building the project. You're not going to make money.
Well, it all goes back to like when you're looking at a rental cost, right? When you walk into an apartment and they say the rent is X amount of money, that number is not just pulled out of the air and fabricated, right? It's a math equation where it costs this amount of money to build, and that's just for the labor. Not even counting the materials. So if you're walking into a new dev and they're telling you they've got marble countertops, all you have to do is do the math. And you realize how they reach those rental numbers that you're hearing. Or even if it's a condo building, that's how they reach the sales numbers that they're at. And so, and I think this is good because as a consumer, this is how you can kind of realize what kind of a deal that you're getting, because you can almost reverse engineer the rent versus...
Literally no client is going to do that.
Well, true, but...
that is an expensive light up there. I'm going to... you know what? This is worth the extra $100 than I was thinking.
But it's like...
above my budget.
It's that kind of conversation that I wish I could have with this council member, right? It's like these are the kind of conversations that I wish we could go through, because there's a way where we can find a middle ground to make this work for everybody versus just like... you're the one who's overcharging on your fees and on your rents for XYZ reasons. Because now all you're doing is just painting the other side as the demon versus we can probably work together to realize a very middle ground status quo. But I digress.
That all will very much shape our businesses for the next year, 2 years, whatever it may be. As far as the broker fee ban, typically the council, I think, takes 8 days to reach a decision. In this case, it may take way longer because it's a little bit of a political battle between Eric Adams and his council members. But we'll see. 485X, having a lot of new conversations with people that are looking to develop, whether they do or they don't. We'll see, but that will be a tale that we tell another day.
If you gotta bake the rent, the broker's fee into the rent, it's gonna be a tough time for renters in New York. Like, you're talking about a $3,000 apartment going to 34.
So you give them
overnight.
a 10% bump on their rent. Yeah.
That's a lot.
And there'll be an elimination of a lot of tenant side rep agents when the client knows that everything is achievable, no fee, by going to the landlord agent. Long story short, I don't think it affects our business in any way, but for a lot of agents it will.
It's
for a lot of tenants it will, but we will see
for
what
most
happens.
tenants it will. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, with that said, it was great catching up with you guys. I know you're complaining that we never see you anymore.
Let's end on a positive note, though. On a bit of a positive note.
Bash, you're the positive guy in the group.
Note.
Leave us off on something that
and don't do that thing about
day.
the tomorrow. All the deals we need are tomorrow. Don't do that.
Don't
please
sing
don't
us a
end
song.
up with that.
Please don't.
Yeah. We know Kendrick killed Drake in this.
We don't have to go there. Why you gotta go there?
I'm just saying.
Tommy Richmond dropped a new song.
And Tommy, he did. I haven't heard it yet, but I'm gonna hear it after this.
All the apartments and rental deals that we're searching for, whether you're a landlord, a broker, or a tenant, are tomorrow.
Oh, Jesus.
And with that, thanks for watching, guys.